What's up, guys? Welcome back to Anything But ASIC. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the town. Oh, I'm out of Monster. Crap. Anyways, what were we talking about? FTX. Moving on to the next articles. I know I'm continuing off where I left off from the last video. Just moving on. We're going to talk about AI. This is a pretty long article, but we're going to talk about some Rich Dad, Poor Dad, author Robert Kiyosaki. We're going to read what he has to say first, because I'm sure he has his point of view on what's going on with the FTX fiasco, and it's pretty important. It's pretty important to control this narrative and what's actually happening in the space. So let's get into it. Bitcoin is not the problem. FTX is. Robert Kiyosaki says following crypto exchanges collapse. By the way, it was centralized exchanges, not DeFi. Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency industry is in general, are still coping with the pain about the demise of the crypto trading platform FTX. Despite this, Robert Kiyosaki, author of the best-selling Rich Dad, Poor Dad, remains optimistic about the long-term viability of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Kiosaki pointed out that the two largest cryptocurrencies by market capitalization cannot be held responsible for the conduct of former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried. BTC struck a 2-year low last week, shedding almost 20% of its value as the cryptocurrency market was pummeled by the exchange collapse. The second largest cryptocurrency, Ethereum, also declined more than 23% during the past week. It's more of a stocks report. Keeping the faith on Bitcoin, the value of the cryptocurrency market has decreased by more than 1.4 trillion this year, as the sector has been afflicted by issues such as business failures and the liquidity problem, which has been worsened by the downfall of FTX. Side note here, yes, just like the dot-com boom of the 2000s. I know a lot of people in the space right now listening don't remember that, but there are always going to be some growing pains with quote-unquote new technology. I guess for a I can put this, a financial technology, it's quote-unquote new, considering that, in, was it 1907, the Federal Reserve was created, and there were growing pains, and now we're here where we are. And sure, we'll have our 1971 gold standard moment, probably a little bit sooner than waiting 60-something years, but right now we're in the, I guess, dot-com bubble. Yeah, this is the dot-com bubble burst, and we'll see what comes out the other end of this. Actually, we're not quite there, but this is getting close. Reading on. A week ago, Kiosaki claimed that though he would consider a significant decline in Bitcoin's price as an opportunity and not a cause for fear. Last week's broadcast of Rich Dad radio show included the best-selling author discussing the FTX debacle with Bitcoin with the guest Mark Moss. Oh, Mark Moss went in. Everybody should stop what you're doing right now. Go see his video on what the FTX collapse was according to Mark Moss, because he really breaks it down. He gets into it. He puts his foot in it. I've never seen a more complete video of what happened than what Mark Moss said, and they probably deregulated his video, so I'm going to try to pump it up here. According to Robert Kiyosaki, many individuals in his age bracket are turning their backs on cryptocurrency, especially following the recent crisis, but he remains optimistic. Side note again, the FTX fiasco happens in regular fiat circles as well. They're just not talked about as much because of FDIC, whatever, backing insurances and all that good stuff. But there have been bank runs even before. There were large talks about bank runs and everything happening in other countries other than the U.S. before the FTX collapse. This is just made the news now, but this stuff happens all the time, where things are not what they seem because they traded some paper asset and didn't tell everybody they had something, and they didn't, and they got called out on it, and they just lost their shirts, filed a bankruptcy, and pleaded the government mailed them out. But this is cryptocurrency, and it's different because there's no government here to bail you out, unless you're Sam Bankman-Fried, of course. Okay, continuing on. According to Kiyosaki, many individuals in this age bracket turning to back some cryptocurrencies. Yes, okay. I remain bullish on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not the same as saying Bitcoin free. It's not Bitcoin. That's the problem. It's FTX. Kiyosaki remained one of the most outspoken proponents of cryptocurrencies, primarily Bitcoin, which he confirmed in the interview he had acquired approximately $6,000 for approximately $6,000, still keeping the asset. It's not the crypto's fault. He emphasized that the crypto cannot be faulted for the failure of FTX and Bankman free, just as the silver cannot be blamed for the mismanagement of precious metals exchange traded funds. The most recent crypto troubles also arose when Changpeng Zhao, CEO of Binance, announced that his exchange will sell off the FTT tokens. FTT is the native currency of the FTX cryptocurrency exchange. The action by Binance triggered the collapse of FTX, and businesses previously valued at 32 billion since the FTX has filed for bankruptcy. CZ freaking low kicked him. Kevin O'Leary, dubbed Mr. Wonderful, a Canadian businessman, entrepreneur, and television personality, referred to Sam Bankman-Fried as Warren Buffett of Bitcoin, but Kiyosaki has referred to him as the Bernie Madoff of cryptocurrencies instead. Bernie Lawrence Madoff was an American conman and financier who perpetuated the largest Ponzi scam in history, totaling near $65 billion. The U.S. Justice Department, the Securities and Exchange Commissions, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission are now investigating FTX, which were backing him to begin with. Just so you know, they were backing. Police, go arrest the officer. That's how well that's gonna work. Police, local police, go arrest the FBI. Okay. But that's the article. Robert Kiyosaki's vote on this. I'm pretty sure this is old news by now, but I thought I should probably bring it up. As Kiyosaki points out something very prominent. They were using paper assets to basically as a representation of the Bitcoin they had. It had nothing to do with the actual Bitcoin ecosystem itself. And I've been outspoken and very leery and telling people that paper Bitcoin does not belong in the cryptocurrency space. It should just be straight Bitcoin. It's already shaky enough that we have a digital currency that's not believed in, but to add more speculation and distrust to the blockchain industry by adding paper assets and ETFs and everything else that came with the current financial system that's failing makes it even worse. The system we're trying to get away from, which is what Bitcoin's created, is not working, and is not. We don't need to do more of the same. We need to do something different. And with from what I'm understanding, what's happening with the NFTs sector, they're starting to realize that. And as cringe as it seems to talk about NFTs, they are doing something different. Kinda. They're trying to do something different at least. And even going so far as having it actually flow into the quote unquote real world where we touch grass and having you actually participate in outside activities and not just online activities in the quote unquote metaverse or whatever place you decide to be on the internet. But just wanted to point that out. Kiyosaki's right. Now, speaking of touching grass, you'll be able to do a lot of that when the artificial intelligent bots come to take your job. In fact, you could touch grass all day. It's just, where would that, will those AI bots be centralized as centralized authority, thus controlling your life, or will it be centralized amongst everybody to make their own way by employing robotic employees, per se, to do the work for them, or most of the work for them? But that's just a question of the future. We'll see how it all plays out. But I'm going to read this article. It's a pretty long one. It's about your Good old friend artificial intelligence. How Bitcoin and artificial intelligence will free your time. Now, pretty bombastic statement there. Time is the one thing you're not going to get back. No matter how much you want, you can't buy time. And a lot of people during the whole shutdown of 2020, 2021, 2022 have realized that. They come to realize that hey, what am I using my time for? And could this be done? Are we really even doing anything? That is the question. You're really even doing anything? You're chasing this fiat currency that's not real, which has been exposed every time somebody says Bitcoin's not real. Surprisingly. And is it really worth our time? I'm going to go and read into the article. The use of technology will give humans more time to practice mindfulness, whatever. That's some kind of buzzword, mindfulness, and do the things they want to do without having to worry about making ends meet. Sounds like it's going to be centralized. Sounds like UBI. This is opinion by editorial by Sydney Bright, a professional science writer on the topic of health benefits and mindfulness-based practices. Where is the technology taking us? Will robots pass our intelligence to replace us altogether? Will we combine with machines in some symbiotic merge that creates a new super being, or will our machines merely tools that will allow our more fundamental nature to thrive? In this article, I will argue that the technology and how human beings will be able to return to a more natural life that is devoid of the harsh realities that existed 10,000 years ago. We're already kind of there. Those who are aware of my work on the science of meditation ask me why there is also a discussion of economics and Bitcoin on my blog. First, I feel that any curious mind should be well-rounded. Multiple fields of study are worth pursuing, as they all compile a more complete understanding of reality. At first, I felt that they were simply separate interests of mine. However, I have come to realize that they are partly connected and suggest an exciting forecast for humanity's future. As I become more involved in Bitcoin and learn more about the history of the internet and the invention of computers, I have grown in appreciation and curiosity towards computers in general. With such an interest in education comes a greater understanding of computers and where they may take us. Of course, this is a popular topic, especially when people speak of artificial intelligence and robots. Many worry that the computers will soon become more intelligent than us, which would be a problem. Elon Musk has stated that a significant purpose of Neuralink is to allow humans to acquire the same processing power as a computer so they do not overcome us. In truth, I think this is a potentially misguided point of view. I think this is possibly the other way around. What is overcoming us are our overly thoughtful minds. Computers should do more of the thinking for us so that we may return to the healthier existence characterized by mindfulness, the scientific benefits of which are explained throughout this article. To explain what computers have to do with this, let's first examine some history. The history of computers began with Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace. Charles Babbage was born in 1971 and is credited as the father of the computer. He was a mathematician who invented the machine known as the difference engine. When cranked, this machine would solve a specific mathematical problem. This could be seen as a very complicated and powerful calculator, except that it was programmable because the machine would output a new value once it was fed inputs. However, the machine was never finished because of funding issues. Ada Lovelace, the daughter of Lord Bryan, an acquaintance of Babbage, wrote an article for the machine that would solve Bernoulli's numbers. She is therefore referred to as the world's first computer programmer. She also contributed significantly to the field. After noticing that the machine like this could solve math problems and other forms of problems, this is perhaps the most crucial ideal that moved the fields forward. Maybe we should refer to her as the mother of computer science. Fast forward to World War II. Alan Turing, a mathematician, is hired by English intelligence to crack the Enigma code of a German opposition. the cryptographic cipher would be needed to decode German communications, but the code changed daily. Given the cipher's complexity, it would be virtually impossible to solve with human resources within 24 hours. So Turing decided to generate a machine that would do it instead. This story is wonderfully told in the film of The Imitation Game. Imagine that before this time, each machine performed a singular purpose. Cars drove, plows plowed, calculators calculated, etc. Mr. Turing likely influenced this by his mathematician predecessor, such as Lovelace, came up with the design of a machine that could be programmed to think. More specifically, a machine that could carry out any operation which could be done by a human computer. Turing envisioned a universal machine that could be programmed to do anything by thinking. We know now that he successfully invented the version of such a machine during the war, which saved many lives. He created the first fully functional computer. Of course, his machine couldn't actually think through anything. Nonetheless, it set in motion something grand. Ever since Turing, human beings have been working on creating more advanced computers. Unlike Turing's machine, the modern computer uses electrical circuit boards rather than mechanical parts. Additionally, ours have been programmed to perform more actions than Turing's machine ever could. Looking back, humans have been continuously developing one big universal machine. Of course, many different computers have different shapes, sizes, qualities, etc. However, most of the are connected by the internet and perform actions that many of us take for granted. They uphold the very fabric of our modern society. Even more interesting to think about is that people developed the code and programming required to generate the internet in a globally distributed way. Programmers and researchers across the globe began developing protocols such as transmission control protocol or internet protocol, transmission control protocol, and internet protocol (TCP/IP), which governs our modern internet. Imagine that aside from the academics and select companies, many computer enthusiasts sat in their rooms, tapping fingers against a keyboard, communicating with one another. They generate the backbone of our global internet without financial incentive. Doing so without institutions or customers paying them. In the end, individuals continue to come together to help build the internet's infrastructure, all for the greater good. It seems humans are naturally inclined to make this worldwide Turing machine, but why? I have heard the idea that human beings are the caterpillar that will create our butterfly replacement, robotic life. However, I think this prediction is misplaced. It conflates logical intellectualism with life and misinterprets what the worldwide Turing machine means for our human progression. What are we building? The internet is a global communication network that allows for information transfer. We created a worldwide Turing machine that would record, remember, filter, and process information for us. Bitcoin was the next great decentralization innovation built on this worldwide Turing machine. What does it do? It records, maintains, manages, and keeps a monetary infrastructure safe. Soon, we will have incredible robots and AI. They will farm for us, build for us, clean for us, etc. We are making worldwide Turing machines to do all of our thinking-oriented tasks. I mean, they're already 3D printing houses with machines, and there are already robots that pick strawberries for you. So yeah, that we're already here. To what end? The philosopher and mathematician Alfred North Whitehead once said, "It is a profoundly erroneous truism that we should cultivate the habit of thinking, what are we doing?" The precise opposite is the case. Civilization advances by extending the number of important operations which we can perform without thinking about them. This is precisely the point. We are building a machine that will do our tasks, so we do not have to think about them anymore. In our modern, Western, analytical-oriented culture, we believe that thinking is the highest form of being. We become afraid of the notion that a machine will replace our need to think because we believe it is what makes us unique. However, it would do us wonders to let go of this hubris. Knowledge is not the final frontier of understanding reality. Wisdom is. This ideal is well elucidated by Daoist philosopher Zhang Zhongzi in his parable. Yan Hu said, "I am making progress." Zhu Zung Zongjing, I'm butchering this. Zongning replied, "What do you mean? I have ceased to think of benevolence and righteousness," was the reply. "Very well, but that's not good enough." Another day, Q again saw Zongin and said, "I am making progress." "What do you mean?" "I have lost all thought of ceremonies and music." "Very well, but that's not enough." A third day, Hugh again saw the master and said, "I am making progress." "What do you mean?" "I sit and forget everything." Zungi changed his counterstance and said, "What do you mean by saying that you sit and forget everything?" Yui's replied, "My connection with the body and its parts is dissolved. My perceptive organs are discarded, thus leaving my mental form and bidding farewell to my knowledge. I am becoming one with the great Prevader. This is called sitting and forgetting all things." Zungi said, "One, with the Prevader, you are free from all likings. So transformed, you are become impermanent. You have indeed become superior to me. I must ask leave to follow in your footsteps." The message I glean from this passage is that it is the absence of analytical knowledge rather than the presence of it that allows you to arrive at the statement of alignment. In other words, rather than the typical ideal that knowledge and thinking are what we need to arrive at the truth of the world, wisdom achieved through mindfulness brings one to that higher state of understanding. This is what meditation contributes to. It is the practice of acquiring a calmer mind that is more present to gain greater wisdom of ourselves and our universe. This is what makes human beings extraordinary. It is what makes beings biologically special. Intellect is the talent of a computer, while wisdom is the talent of life. Machines can take over the laborious nature of our lives, so we may find time to simply be. An understanding of this consequence can be achieved from the economics of a hyper-Bitcoinized world. One of the arguments in favor of Bitcoin is that it can replace our current monetary system based on fiat money with a system replaced by sound money. A fiat currency system is defined by inflation, whereas sound money system is characterized by money that has its purchasing power determined by the markets, independent of the governments and political parties. This is a crucial to consider. I read that right. In an inflationary world where the cost of living continuously increases, which means that every paycheck is worth less than the previous one, it incentivize people to spend money rather than saving it. Policymakers tend to favor the system because the spending stimulates the economy, which helps the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, instead of the deflationary environment that would benefit us the most. The inflationary economy, the cost of living goes down every day. The next time you get a paycheck, even if the paycheck has the same number on it, it grants you a greater purchasing power. Savings become more valuable daily, even if there is no interest. Therefore, someone can retire soon. Imagine 100 years ago. It took 60 years to save and retire. For the next generation, it took 40 years and so on. Eventually, the deflationary system, it took only one day to have enough wealth to retire. Eventually, people would hardly have to work to save enough for them to live the rest of their lives with an abundant free time. Of course, this is not only because of the monetary system. It would be largely due to the advancements in technology that make our lives easier and more manageable. If Bitcoin didn't exist, this could still happen. The worldwide Turing machine will grow and replace many of our jobs. However, without Bitcoin, the monetary system would funnel all the wealth to the rich and powerful, and the poor would not see the full benefits of the advancing economy. We already see much of this today. Rich people will live incredibly luxurious lives without having to work excessive hours while middle and lower class people work hard every day with only tiny bits of wealth to show for it. With Bitcoin, everyone can benefit from advanced technology. It does the thinking for us in keeping track of the global transactions, accounting, etc. So we do not have to rely upon the corrupt central banks to do it. This way, all ships rise with the tide. Again, the worldwide turing machine will think for us, so we can live tranquil and relaxing lives. Bitcoin is simply the newest advancement in this fantastic machine. This is not entirely a novel ideal. Of course, many of us have foreseen the rise of computers and robots replacing us in the workforce and giving us more time to relax. Given the invention of Bitcoin, we can be more assured that the wealth will be distributed fairly across the globe. The question then becomes, what will we do in our free time? Will this be will this With this free time, will we be given a choice? I argue that we must consider the benefits of mindfulness and the dangers of an overly thoughtful mind. In this abundant future, we can choose to just be. We can choose to just be right now. Just saying. Throughout this article, I will discuss scientific research that illustrates the great and many benefits of the mindfulness meditation provides, both mental and physical. I think this is profound in demonstrating how health can be improved holistically and naturally, and illustrates a more fundamental true aspect of the human condition that we do not often consider today. We evolved to be mindful. Our modern society highly values intellect and thinking. People are sent to school to learn how to think so they can either solve problems at work or at universities. Think. The issue is that thinking takes us away from being mindful and can be contribute to poor health, and if not kept under control. Thinking can be helpful in problem solving and engineering, helping us develop our modern comforts. However, thinking also invites a mind burdened with repetitive, non-constructive thoughts that all lead to all sorts of poor mental health conditions. The benefits of mindfulness meditation cannot be stressed enough. Mindfulness involves the reorientation of the mind towards the present experience, the state of being absent and ruminating mind, and can be characterized as a state of experienced life as it currently unfolds. It is a practice that removes the repetitive ruminations that keep us trapped within our heads. They also would argue that intellect is not, in fact, the most helpful method in understanding higher truths, a reality, as illustrated by Zheng Zi above. One who meditates will learn to experience and understand the world for what it is, and rather than simply theorizing. Yet, we are told that thinking will bring us to the truth, and not that thinking is for fools. The answer is found within a balance of the two. Human beings have thought long and hard about how to progress our economies forward and create this worldwide turing machine. Thought has undoubtedly benefited us. Nonetheless, it has come at the cost of health. My argument is not that this has been wrong. I'm suggesting that this was a necessary sacrifice so that the future generations not have to work hard and would be given a space to practice mindfulness. The amount of work required to live will be so minimal in the world where all thinking related tasks are handled by the worldwide tuning machine. Future generations will have an incredible amount of free time to focus on health, well-being, happiness. Everyone will find these things in their own way, but it seems evident that this will inevitably involve mindfulness practices that keep our minds and bodies healthy. This free time and prosperity will give them opportunities that we do not have for maximizing their health. This way, our future generations can enjoy the fruits of nature, which will likely lead to a healthier society and planet. I find it helpful to think that life is full of abundance. Often systems oscillate and act as a pendulum swinging back and forth. Humans were once hunters and gatherers living a mindful existence. Then we began to farm, which radically increased the hours of the day we worked and dramatically reduced the diversity of the health of our diets, and at the same time, for a certain point of view, it was a weird path to take. We worked longer hours in a day for less quality nourishment, depending swinging backwards. And the evidence is in the technology we began to build at the onset of our agricultural revolution. We are creating these elaborately efficient economies alongside a global computer that can do our labor for us, so that we may return to a more natural and more mindful way of being. However, in contrast, 10,000 years ago, we will be living in the great abundance and wealth rather than struggling for necessities stunning conclusion to a long history of strife. Of course, this narrative is not without a cautionary side. Many reading this article may agree that we are moving towards a automated world where humans are no longer forced to work to survive, but some may see this as dangerous. Some may view this as a dystopian full of lazy individuals who have no purpose and live unhealthy lives, being absorbed with their virtual worlds and removed from reality. Idiocracy was not a documentary. Just saying. This is also an aspect of the balance. And it is possible. It is a possibility. The worldwide Turing machine can think for us, but that doesn't mean it should do everything for us. It is and always will be a double-edged sword. Technology can be beneficial, which means it can also be destructive. A good example is social media. It's incredibly positive because it brought the world together through greater communication and cultural exchange. Yet it also began to steal away our attention, poisoning our minds with habits that take away from us being mindful of our present environment. There are things that we should not use technology for, and there are temptations that we should learn to avoid. In general, we should not use technology in ways that prevent us from being mindful and present in our natural environment. The research explored in this article, including the benefits of meditation and being out in nature, show that there are aspects of our mental and physical health that we take for granted in this thought-driven society. Our bodies were designed to prosper outside. They do not thrive inside, and especially not inside a virtual world like the metaverse. Now people wish to move out of the concrete jungle into a virtual jungle without fully appreciating our biological needs. Even though our minds may love the idea of living in a virtual world, our bodies will not. This behavior is promoted by our modern culture that puts the pleasures and activity of our mind first, and the discipline of maintaining a mindful state of being last. Let computers think for us so we may pursue a life of simply being. Let us not allow computers to dominate our minds. Yes, your body will deteriorate if you're just staring at a screen all day. Surprise. In an incredible time in human history, thanks to technological investments, it has become clear how prosperous human life could become. However, not be handed to us on a silver platter. Technology can grant us lives beyond their wildest imaginations. At the same time, the dualistic nature of technology also means without a cultural shift in the way we view life, it could be a tool for destruction. Ancient cultures understood the importance of mindfulness practice. There was an inherent recognition of our connection with the earth and nature due to the conditions of our lives at the time. This brought benefits towards the mind and body and spiritual understanding of our place within the cosmos. Considering we are made of the things that create the cosmos and the earth and the place we're standing on right now, you probably want to get more of that. It's evident that the wisdom achieved through mindfulness is slowly being lost to time. This global computer, the universal thinking machine invented by Turing, has the capability of providing a life of great luxury, whereas many live in a state of being more akin to our biological evolution. It also has the capability of distracting us from pulling us away from nature and ruining our health in the process. We should be cautious of integrating computers into our brains. We are thinking we can make a virtual reality world that will be suitable replacement for our natural world. The choice is of whether technology will bring us closer to health and prosperity is ours to make. It will take shape in whatever form we guide it towards. Our guidance is determined by our own ability to either choose life of mindfulness or choose a life of indulgence as we build. This is a guest post by Sydney Bright. Opinions expressed entirely their own and do not necessarily reflect those of BTC Inc. or Bitcoin Magazine. So, after all that said, taking all this in, I have to ask, the question that came to my mind reading this is, if we do implement this system where robots do everything, then what are humans going to do? Well, not only what are humans going to do, humans going to human, of course, but what is the price of a human life at that point? Now, most people will say that the human life shouldn't have a price, but insurance companies would beg to differ. And when you're being held for hostage or ransom, I think you would beg to differ. You would want your life to be very valuable, wouldn't you? So, if you had nothing to do all day, and you knew this, let's say you had nothing to do all day, put in this hypothetical situation, but it's really playing out right now. If you had nothing to do with it, everything was taken care of for you. You're basically on UBI, and technology was at its peak. You knew you could glean information at the flick of your thought process, because the computer would be implanted into your brain most likely. Thanks, Elon. What would you do all day? Like would you design a ship that could, go to Mars? Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody had been done that by then. Or what would you do as a human connected to this planet, born of this planet, in this ecosystem? What would you do with all that free time? What would be the value of a human life? Would you even have kids at that point? That's the question. Would you even create a next generation knowing that they weren't going to do anything? What would be the criteria for even being human at that point? Because I know that this article suggests that we would become more human by having more free time, but somebody's got to run these systems. Somebody's going to be smart enough to maintenance these systems. They don't last forever. It just as everything from this planet doesn't last forever. And those people running the systems, are they going to be a few people, or are just everybody going to know how to fix the systems if they ever break down? And the people, if it does get centralized, do those people can now control everybody else's well-being? And who decides that? There's a lot of questions to answer. But what is the value of human life once the human has nothing to do? And I'm going to leave it there. You can put the answer in the comments. What do you think? And I'll see you guys later, since it's been a long one.